So I hope that you can go onto Twitter, set up an account, nothing beats getting your hands dirty. So any questions, first of all, on this particular subject?
From a novice point of view, do they tell you who the demographics are? And if you're saying that it's just not working, that not working means you're not getting any blogs back? Or what are we talking about here?
I can Twitter. With regard to Twitter, for example, I mean, just going to Twitter, you have to listen in. I think with all of these communities, you can't just go and expect immediate participation. You have to listen in for a while and kind of learn the language and learn the codes and kind of follow people who have a lot of followers, for example, with Twitter. So a measure of it not working would be you go there, you tweet out a message saying, come to this event, and then you wonder why no one shows up. But what happens is that there's no one following you, so nobody's heard you. So if you go, and I mean, if you look at somebody like Beth Kanter, if you follow Beth Kanter, and her handle is @Kanter, K-A-N-T-E-R, or you follow Andy Carvin on Twitter, you'll see that they've got, close to 10,000, or Guy Kawasaki. These are people with, over 10,000 followers. And you look at them, you start following them first, and you see what they're doing and you listen in. That's kind of a good way to get started. I mean, I have probably 700 followers. So, I mean, I have some impact, but not the kind of degree of impact. So that would be a way to get started. There are a lot of tools that will tell you, like Mr. Tweet, will tell you who you need to, it'll analyze what you're saying and what you're interested in and who you're following, and tell you who you should be following.
So would you assign like a full-time staff member to this?
No, I spend, I mean, it's hard to kind of quantify how much time I spend tweeting, because I'm one of those people who's constantly tweeting. Like, I tweeted this morning that I was doing a drive-by tweet between the shower and getting ready to come here. And that's just, I mean, so it's hard to quantify in terms of hours, but I would say an estimate would be 2 hours a week on Twitter, because it's 140 characters, right? So it takes about 20 seconds to tweet. So it's not like it would be a job of a full-time staff person. And there are tools like TweetDeck and Twirl, which are Twitter applications, which make it easier than just going to the website. They're like Firefox extensions and tools that make it easier to organize your tweets.
I just was going to build a little bit on what Susan was saying. When you're deciding whom you want to follow on Twitter, just to kind of get the lay of the land, one thing to take into account is what type of followers that person has and who that person is. So, for example, Beth Kanter is a great person to follow if you're a nonprofit. She has about 10,000 followers. Kevin Rose has 30,000 followers, but he may not be the best choice for you to follow with your nonprofit. So who you follow also sends a message. So you might even want to, if you have an intern, set up an account, or kind of keep an eye out, or have a personal account where you are getting used to who's who first, and being a little bit strategic about that. The other way that you can approach it is to be completely open and subscribe to a ton of people and say, hey, I'm totally new here. What should I do first, and all that. So it's the opposite approach in a way, but both have the same result in that you learn what's going on before you actually start using the tool really actively.
And I wanted to just give you a link that will help you as well, which is Twitter Packs. If you Google Twitter Packs, or you go to Twitter Packs, that's packs.pdwiki.com/nonprofits. You can find, it's basically a hand-selected group of what they thought was important people on Twitter, organizations on Twitter to follow. So if you go to Twitter Packs, you can look at, it's segmented. And then there's also, if you just go to delicious.com and you look under the tag Twitter, there are hundreds and hundreds of articles that, I've bookmarked probably 200, so there are lots of articles on Delicious.
So I just wanted to pop up a level, because I wasn't sure if we kind of targeted Twitter here, and say that part of the establishing who your audience is knowing about your group's audience, not about you're going to want to know about your group's audience and then where they gather on these various social networks. So there's kind of two components, and there's a lot of good. Most social networks, Twitter, Facebook, they self-publish analytics about, do they skew more male or female, what are the age ranges, those sorts of things. So before you get into it, there's a lot of very transparent information that helps you map to your organization's, folks to the right the right channel. And, I just wanted to make sure that, this is really about transparency. So even those kinds of numbers are very transparent. We get into Twitter, that's an entirely unique channel, and sure, there's a lot of followers that you should follow. I actually recommend to, lots of people that they kind of cyber mentor someone, which means you don't even need to necessarily know the person, but if you think that the person has a similar personality, or they have similar goals, or they're with an organization that does something similar to you and they're maybe a step ahead or where you want to be, make sure you're following them. Check out what they do. You're not doing it for nefarious purposes. You're actually trying to learn, in this sort of virtual mentorship way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're doing it electronically. And I think that that's a good way to gain some understanding and insight.
You have a question here?
Yeah, so I first want to make a disclaimer. I'm probably like the most novice in the room, because I'm even still trying to figure out like why in God's Schooner would I want to follow Beth Hansen. Yeah, so one of my questions is, could you just, for using Twitter as an example, what would be the goals that an organization would be fulfilling in using Twitter? Like, I'm just having trouble understanding. I'm just really basic.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was actually going to echo Jennifer's thoughts as well, which kind of answers your question. The thing about all of these tools that you're trying to do is you're trying to build a community. Now you already have, hopefully, a pretty good community that is offline that you reach through direct mail, phone calls, and maybe to some extent email, which is good. What these tools and networks enable is for you to have a more interactive, ongoing, engaging community of people that you can reach out to and talk to. And it's faster, it's bigger, it's better, and it's cheaper than doing the traditional marketing techniques that nonprofits and companies have been doing for decades, and that's what's great about it. And you can expand and take more advantage of the people that are interested in whatever your organization is doing by using these tools. So that's really what it's about. So Twitter might be a great thing for you to do for your organization, because your nonprofit has a big network amongst 18 to 25-year-olds, but if it doesn't, and the demographics are a lot higher than that age-wise, you probably don't want to go down the road of using Twitter right now. You might want to do, some more, you might want to really start blogging instead, as an example. So it's all about network. And, when you talk about using Facebook, Twitter, maybe creating a YouTube channel, the key is you want to market those things to the network that you already have. So if in your next newsletter or your email, you want to include your Twitter handle, you want to include the link to your Facebook group, to your YouTube channel, and you market those things and you transform, you're basically going to transform your community from the offline world to the online world. That really should be your ultimate goal, so that 5 or 10 years from now, that's how you're reaching people and you're not sending out those pieces of paper anymore.
When you talk about community, you are talking then about donors, clients.
Yes.
I mean,
yep.
So all those.
Everybody who knows and cares about your organization.
And I would emphasize, and I think you're going to support this, pick one. Right. Pick one to start.
So like if you're serving low-income people, poor people.
You may not be trying to reach them because they may not necessarily have it. But there are many examples of how they.
Right, that this
but then you maybe wanted to go after donors.
Okay.
And I actually just wanted to present a different, I actually have a different approach to Twitter. As a nonprofit, it's not only about, I kind of disagree with you respectfully, because I don't think it's just about having a voice on Twitter. It's also about listening in. So to answer your question about why you would want to follow, because it's a really easy way to get a super quick feed of what thousands of organizations, however many you want to follow, a couple hundred, 20 to start, are doing without having to remember to go to all their sites. You can almost augment it as an RSS feed, if that makes sense. Instead of having to get an RSS reader and get everybody's blog updates, most people are now having either an auto feed into their Twitter, or they're just mentioning, I blogged this, I blogged that. It's also an easy way to listen in to the buzz of the community in one very quick, digestible format. So it's not only about taking the time to have a voice yourself.